And when you are really poor for a long time, you're a very different human being than when you're middle class or rich. At one point, thank God only one point, I ran away from home. I was 16 at the time, and I bummed around the country for a few weeks. And I literally faced severe hunger. I had $7. They lasted exactly 7 days. After that, no money. And pretty quickly, that converts into no food. If you knew where there was a soup kitchen, I guess you could go there, but I didn't know about that. I was on the road. I didn't know where I was, much less where other things were. I would beg. Very quickly, you turn into a beggar. You might think you would never do that, but you're wrong. All you have to do is get hungry enough and you beg your brains out.
That was a short snippet of the late, great Steve Allen, the guy that co-founded The Tonight Show. Jay Leno, Johnny Carson, and all of that. He's a comedian, a Grammy Award-winning musical, from his music to Hollywood stars. I mean, this guy, comedian, he's has done it all, well accomplished. And I'm going to show you the rest of this clip. It's about 5 minutes, 4 plus something minutes. So when I show it to you, get your soda, get your coffee, whatever you want, sit back, relax. You've got to listen to what he's saying, because there's some powerful points that I want you to hear what he has to say. And then I'm going to show you, bring it all home on a spiritual thing. And I have my little notes where some scriptures in here that I've jotted down and things that I want to bring it on home. Now, why am I making a message like this? And why am I talking about Steve Allen? Because in that he's talking about, when you hear it, when I show you the rest of it, he's going to be talking about parenting, being a parent, and how that we get it wrong because we just don't have no type of guidance. And sometimes, we get sidetracked as such as himself, because he wanted to make sure that his family didn't want for anything, and he wanted to do well. But in the end, his children suffered. He felt like he could have done better. This is what's happening right now within the church. There's a lot of things that can be done so much better. And what we have is pastors that have failed on all levels for decades now. And it has slowly, it has reared its head now. It's at the boiling point. And you have churches that are closing up shop. You have pastors that are falling on their face because many of them weren't called, and many of them have turned from the faith. And then you have these false teachers that have infiltrated the doors of the church, because the pastors and people have remained silent. And now we have this great falling away where people are highly deceived and their ears are itching, and they are willing to come and sit in front and listen to somebody tell them some of the wildest stories that could ever be imagined, to where 20, 30 years ago, if you heard some of this stuff, most people would get up and walk out the door, or most people, you would become a laughingstock. And as I have mentioned many times, many of these types of people, if it wasn't for this digital age that we're in, they would be on a street corner in Las Vegas somewhere performing, because no biblically sound church would have them on their platform. Now, let's take a look at the rest of this clip, and we're going to come back and talk and bring it home with some scriptures, and then I'll close it out.
I think that I, and I assume millions of others of my generation, wanted some of the things that we did for our children and our wives and ourselves was explained by the fact that we were products of what is called the Depression. Sadly to say, many young people today don't even know what that term means. It means that everybody was poor. Statistically, almost everybody was poor for about 10 years. Started with the stock market crash and got worse after that. And when you are really poor for a long time, you're a very different human being than when you're middle class or rich. At one point, thank God only one point, I ran away from home. I was 16 at the time, and I bummed around the country for a few weeks. And I literally faced severe hunger. I had $7. They lasted exactly 7 days. After that, no money. And pretty quickly, that converts into no food. If you knew where there was a soup kitchen, I guess you could go there, but I didn't know about that. I was on the road. I didn't know where I was, much less where other things were. I would beg. Very quickly, you turn into a beggar. You might think you would never do that, but you're wrong. All you have to do is get hungry enough and you beg your brains out. It's the conventional dialogue that you saw in movies. Hey, Mac, can you spare a dime? Or, you got a quarter you're not using, I could use it. And by and large, you get ignored or you get contempt. The only people who ever treated me, well, not the only people, but almost the only people who ever treated me kindly were the Mexican Americans I ran into in the southwestern states. So one guy, I remember, opened his own pockets, showed me they were empty, and he shrugged. I liked that. We had a nice moment together because he was saying, I'm no better off than you are. Another man said, wait, senor, and he went into a little hovel, really, and came out with a tortilla full of beans. I loved him for that. And there was a nice attitude when I asked a Mexican if he had anything that I could eat or money to buy it with or whatever. My fellow Anglos, by and large, treated me coldly and rudely. I ate garbage at one point. You will do that, too, and you'll thank the universe for the garbage. Boy, what a thrill. Here, I found a can with some beans in it. I scooped out the ants and blew them away, and then I ate the 9 or 10 beans I found there. And boy, was I happy to find those beans. I was eating garbage and thrilled to do it. So that's very different from the life that we know. And since some of us had been through that, then we wanted to be sure that our children never went through that. So we tried to build up the little bank accounts and get a car for the wife and a car for us and wash the cars ourselves with the hose with the kids. There are many sweet, beautiful aspects of that. The best scene of all really is family life. Why our society insists on making heroes, men or women, out of people who can't stay married and have had 19 women. God, is that a stupid reversion of values? Having one wife, staying married to her, that's what we're supposed to do. It works out better with the kids. But the American home began to fall apart, I think, seriously, partly because of effects of World War II in the 1950s. That's when the divorce explosion, as it's called, began. As to what I wanted for my kids, there was, on one side, the economic security, that they would have enough clothes, enough food, a roof over their heads, and that, be able to go to school and have a bike and all those simple things. Unfortunately, while I succeeded in that regard for them, I would not rate myself terribly high as a father. My sons are kind enough to say complimentary things about me as a father, but I was very far from satisfied with myself as I look back at my role in that particular drama. I have been arguing ever since that our culture and society is very good at training people. We train them to pull teeth, to repair automobiles, to paint fences, to do brain surgery. We give them no training, literally, in the two most important roles they'll ever be called upon to play: marriage partner and parent. And that you just thrown into the water, hope you can swim. Oh, I'm sorry, you're getting divorced. Well, your children are sick. And it's happening now in probably half the cases of marriage in this country. It's an ongoing tragedy. I can see now that anybody, and certainly myself included, since I'm a body, needed training, just a book, anything, a magazine article, a priest talking to you on a park bench, something. We needed to be told how to be a father for the men and how to be a husband. Nobody ever explained anything to me. I hadn't seen any example in my own life. My father died when I was an infant, so there was no example. And I simply never learned it. So I was finally able to piece myself together and be a good father to my fourth son, but I don't think I was that great a father. I love my three sons, the first three, dearly, still do. We get along great. But I thought all you had to do was love them, occasionally mention that fact to them, give them a hug once in a while after they, at least up to the age of 7 or 8. And that was basically all there was to it. And boy, was I wrong. You have to spend much time with them. You probably have noticed that either in the 60s or 1,000 years from now or last night, the sons of public figures, sons and daughters of public figures, have a decided disadvantage, where those public figures are presidents or senators or movie actors or rock stars. And the reason is very simple. Daddy's on the road a lot. He's out campaigning for office. He's doing a concert in Nashville. And suddenly he looks over his shoulder and, oh, Junior's on dope. Well, maybe the fact that I didn't see him that much from 2 to 14 had something to do with that. You bet it did.
That was powerful, wasn't it? Powerful. Especially the end where he's talked about being so busy and caught up and not really knowing how to love and wonder why. Spending time with your kids, spending time with your family, and end up Johnny on dope. And you wonder, that he said, you betcha. Now, you can still do everything right. Let me make that clear. You can do every single thing right in raising your child, and they still can go wayward. So we're all, it says train up a child in the way we should go, and when they get older, they should not depart from it. But there's no guarantee that your child may damn you, curse you. I got a situation that I know right now where the kids have abandoned their mother because she's had a stroke, and they've always, she's done so much for them, but for some reason or another, there's so much bitterness within them towards her, and they're just selfish, many of them, and they just don't care at this point. So what I want to say is, when I was, after the death of my father, who was murdered in Chicago, which Chicago, as we know, has been crazy since the days of Al Capone. So don't buy into this notion that it's just been crazy for, the last 10 years, 15 years. It's been crazy since the days of Al Capone. There's reasons why the South Side, that's a whole nother message for those of you that know your history. There's a reason why the South Side and why there's a lot of turmoil within my community, black community, why that happens, what happened from that. So that's a whole nother message. But the year that my father was murdered, there was 907. It was a record of murder. 972 murders or something that year. 972. But one thing that I'm thankful for, because he was murdered a year and a half after my mother committed suicide, which I witnessed. And one thing I'm thankful for is that the Lord gave me the ability. He blessed me to be able to have memories of my father. He blessed me. There's percentages that show from a kid being able to remember from ages 3 and 4. It's a small percent to be able to have a memory in that range. And I'm thankful that I'm one of them. And I have some good memories of my dad. And I share you this one particular story. I remember being my dad, for another issue was he practiced a false religion. He was part of the Nation of Islam, and he was a vegetarian and things. And I remember there was an old fast food commercial on, and they had the toys. And I was telling him, I want the toy, Dad, I want the toy. He said, when I get off work, we're gonna go get the toy. It's something he said, or playing with me. Well, no, he said, when I get off work, can you show me where it is? I said, yeah, I can show you. So when he got off work, we got in the car and we went, and I'm telling them, turn here, turn there. And I remember being by railroad tracks or something. Never found the place. I don't know what happened. I don't know why he did that to me. I didn't get the toy, but I think he got me something else. But that was just the fun. I remember that fun time with him. And there's other times that I remember sharing with him, especially being that he was a mailman. And he would get up at 5:30, or leave the house 5:30 or so, supposedly. But a lot of times I would wake up and meet him in the kitchen. And he'll pour me a glass of milk. I drink my milk, and he'll give me a big hug. And that's how, so I knew my father loved me. I knew that, and there was a lot more that I could say. But he worked 3 jobs. He was a postman. He cleaned for the school system, did a cleaning job. And on top of it, he worked in a junkyard. And I remember going to all 3 with him sometime. And unfortunately, as I mentioned, he was part of a false religion, the Nation of Islam. I had a Muslim name. So growing up in elementary in the 70s and with this name and being made fun of, because you didn't have, Somalians wasn't here in the United States at that time like that. You didn't have a lot of these other Islamic type people here like that, where the name could be more common. So I had to be mocked at constantly, constant fights. Not only that, I was small, malnourished basically, and gotten a lot of fights because I was picked on. And one thing, once I start to understand the religion and started getting an understanding, like, oh, this is crazy. Why was my dad part of this? I hate this name. By the time I was around 8 to 10 years old, I was telling my auntie who raised me, I'm changing my name. When I get grown, I want my name changed. And sure enough, when I turned 18, I was still in high school, had an attorney that was handling our trust fund. He went to court. I changed my name. Now, my name's not totally made up. I'm not going to get into how I came about my current name. I won't get into that at this particular time. But you see how God operated. I'm so thankful that he gave me the ability to have memories, and I have a few of my mother, not as many, but I do have memories with him. Why am I sharing this? Why am I sharing this particular message? Because what we have is these people, especially the young ones, these young self-appointed prophets, these young self-appointed pastors, people like Marcus Rogers, as you see here, he's got a bunch of kids. He's got kids, young ones. He got young ones. Troy Black, these guys got young kids. They don't work. There's no laying the foundation. They think that they're laying a foundation within their kids. But with them lying on the Lord, making up stuff, going around, pushing hate, pushing lies, all types of things, and your kids see that. Because how? I don't understand, especially in Marcus Rogers' case. I raised 3 kids. My youngest she's in college right now. She's getting ready to turn 21 in March. And my boys are grown. I loved raising my kids. I loved it. I sacrificed a whole lot to raise my kids. I sacrificed working. I still work nights. I work nights my entire time with my kids in order to sit back and not have to worry about babysitting. And I sacrificed my sleep, coming to work 3 hours of sleep, to make sure, just for the financial purposes, because, daycare and the Lord was able to give help here and there from sister-in-laws and certain things like that. But I've sacrificed a lot. And on top of it, them being involved in activities and school things and just all of the things, it takes a lot to be a parent. And I wish that I could have even done more. But I don't see, for example, as someone in the case of Marcus Rogers, that's constantly on Facebook, constantly on the platforms, constantly posting. Church only, he's a self-appointed pastor as far as I'm concerned. Church only open one day out of the week, maybe twice out of the week, no other times, and he doesn't work, but he's constantly on the platform. How are you spending any time with your kids? How are you truly spending time with your kids? These false teachers in them that constantly are caught up, that don't work. I can't come and make several videos throughout the day constantly and things. I can't be full time just getting on where I'm the news. I'm the TMZ, because that's what a lot of these people are. They're nothing but TMZ prophets. They find something in the news, take it, try to spiritualize it, and add scriptures in it, and such in the case of some of them, or this doomsday stuff. So as I have here, what I want to have on here, because it wouldn't, don't be surprised, and they better not be surprised. I pray that their kids turn out okay, people like this. I pray that people that are within family structures, you may not have no kids, but you may have family members. You may have some friends. You may have people that are walking in deception like this, and they sitting there and they're being a bad they're influenced, that they're set up, and they're walking in this darkness has affected the entire family structure. And you are setting up people that are doing this, are setting up their family for damnation for generations. You talking about it's a miracle. I was the first one in my immediate family to be delivered and saved by the Lord. The first one. I'm forever grateful for him for doing that, because I was on a road of big trouble to destruction if I would have stayed wrapped up in this false Islamic religion. And what you have when you follow these types of people, for those of you that are following these types of people, and you're being hard-headed and you're making excuses and claiming that they're a prophet, that they're hearing from God, and you ain't took the time to get into the scriptures, took the time to get a clear understanding of the word of God. You keep hearing. Sometimes, it's the old saying. If somebody keeps telling you, I preached a message, I'm going to play it for y'all one day. It's an old message. What are you angry about? I got this. I'm going to play that. I want you guys to hear my old sermon. What are you angry about? And I think I said in this old sermon, if somebody's always telling you, you're always mad, you're always angry, I said, the likelihood then, you're probably an angry person. That's how, so if you're constantly coming across, you're hearing this is the Lord trying to open your eyes. You better stop. You better repent before it's too late. I'm telling you. So as I close out with some of these scriptures, for some of the kids, I just want to give some Proverbs chapter 30, verses 11 and 17, that kids, we will suffer greatly if we don't respect our parents, is what I have on here. By pursuing wisdom, we not only benefit ourselves, but we can bring great joy to our parents. How we treat our parents displays our values and attitudes. Proverbs 19:26. Disrespecting our parents can have our own terrible implications for our own lives. 2020. And let me read that one for you. 2020. Because this is huge. If someone curses their father or their mother, their lamp will be snuffed out and pitched in darkness. Proverbs 30:17 says, this is another serious one. The eye that mocks his father and scorns obedience to his mother, the ravens of the valley will pick it out, and the young eagles will eat it. We're to honor, if you have parents, honor them. I mean, I know that there's plenty of people out there that has had parents that has abused them, mistreated them. I know some directly, but at the same time, as a Christian, you just follow what the Lord says. It doesn't mean you have to go over there and have supper with them and walk with them and go have walks in the park with them or so. You just you can love them. Sometimes you have to love them from a distance. You love them from a distance. You show respect. Don't curse them and talk crazy to them and damn them and certain things. But that's important. This is why kids, you want to talk about the kids messed up nowadays. You want to talk about the kids that's all jacked up. Just like what Steve Allen said in the video. Parents there's a whole lot of parents, especially this younger generation of parents. These people, this whatever you call them, millennials or so, they're caught up. The ones that had kids and they're caught up and they're set up and they've walked away from the Lord. They don't care what grandma used to say and certain things, and they've allowed the household to set up for damnation for generations to come. This is a dangerous place to be. If you are listening to false teachers, or if you are meddling around with them, if you sitting there, you're setting up, you know what? Don't be surprised. Don't be surprised when your kids, you find out down the road, or family members and things down the road, that they set up, you wonder why there's turmoil within your household in some cases like this. Because you bought it in. You've allowed the enemy. There was an opening and you allowed him to come in, and you set the foundation for your family to be deceived, especially if you got kids. You have set them up to be deceived. That's the danger. Marcus Rogers, people, these younger little preachers and people like that, their kids are in Troy Blacks and all of these young ones, their kids are in great danger, because their dad, one day, just like when I started to realize that my father, wait a minute, this Islam stuff, and I started getting an understanding about it and realized like, whoa, what is this? This is crazy. This is hate. This is that. And I got an understanding about it. They're going to get an understanding. They're going to realize what you were doing. They're going to realize that you were a charlatan and taking advantage of people. They're going to realize you've been lying on the Lord. When they get to understand that, and your relationship ends up messed up between both of y'all, or so, you have no one to blame but yourself. No one to blame but yourself. And as I mentioned, for those of you that may not have kids, you need to really think about your walk. If you call yourself a Christian, because you dabbling around with these false teachers and all of these types of people, yeah, you're setting up you're doing damage out here within the workplace. your neighbors, or wherever you go, because you're walking in darkness. We'll continue to talk about the issues like this, as we always do in this channel, the issues that the church run away from, tackle Satan and his tactics, punch him right in between the chops. My name is Maurice Braxton. Evangelism for God is the channel. Until the next video, my friends, take care. God bless.